So first of all, I will announce that this meeting is being recorded. Welcome to the August 2022 meeting of Chicago Data Professionals. Tonight we have a fantastic speaker, my friend, my colleague, my partner in crime here for the Chicago Data Professionals user group. That is H. Ross Reed. Ross is going to be presenting DBATools, migrating database servers. So I think this is going to be a great talk. Many of you who will be watching this video or joining us tonight have gone through migrations, and typically we're using a number of different scripts, maybe kept in a file share or even on our own local machine, along with an Excel file with checklists and stuff like that, right? So what Ross is going to talk about tonight, though, is how DBATools, which is a really cool set of modules, PowerShell modules out there, has made it easier for us. So a little bit about Ross. Ross is a lead database administrator for the Options Clearing Corp, or as we know it here, the OCC. And he's been a database administrator for over 20 years. And he's been my friend, not for that long, I'm sorry to say, but he has been my friend for a number of years now. And I'm really excited to hear this talk tonight. So our co-organizer of Chicago Data Professionals and lead database administrator for the OC at the OCC, Ross. Take it away, Ross.
All right, thank you, Jared. I'm going to shut off my camera here and then there, share this window. Try this again. So let me know if you guys can see my PowerPoint screen.
Not just yet.
All right, try this again.
Oh, I think there we go.
All right, excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
So, okay, great. So as Jared said, and going to be talking tonight about DBATools, specifically for migrating database servers. We've already talked about me, so Jared gave me a very wonderful introduction, and boy, I just hope I can live up to that as I present here. Anyway, the important thing is the contact information there is available to you if you know you come up with questions afterwards, or you try using this stuff and you run into something. Please feel free to contact me. So a little bit about my story. I'd always, as Jared said, and a lot of us have, and I've always had a set of scripts that I use for database server migrations, and it was kind of, you know, they worked well, but a lot of it was, you know, I'd have a checklist that goes along with it, and say, you know, run this, and so on and so forth. And DBATools came along, and I never really gave it much thought. I thought, well, hey, I got my own way of doing things, and it's just fine. Well, a younger version of myself used to hate hearing stuff like that. So anyway, I started started using DBATools, and discovered that these things are really slick and a real time saver. So yeah, as I said, then in times past, I would use a checklist, and yeah, I've got one for you know, server instance migration. It's a 28-step process, and it doesn't include the migrating the application databases. This is just you know, server building stuff. Well, the when the DBATools came along, and I'm not going to suggest that this will eliminate your checklist, but it'll certainly make the checklist a lot smaller. So what we're going to talk about tonight is the first thing is to install DBA instance. This is a great tool for installing SQL Server. And it's now in our shop, we generally have the Windows administrators do the SQL Server installation, and then they'll turn it over to us as DBAs. And then we do the configuration, which is the second step in the process here, to copy DBA SP configure. That, then we'll talk about the copy DBA instance audit, copy DBA policy management, copy DBA logins, and then copy DBA XE session. This is for extended event sessions. Get into that in a little bit here. Then the copy DBA database. This is where we would copy the application databases from one server to another. Lastly, repair DBA DB orphaned users. That's kind of a neat little tool for taking care of orphaned users. More about that in a minute. Then the last tool I'll talk about is Start DBA Migration, which is known as the Easy button. And this is a one-step script, if you will, that will migrate everything from one database instance to another. I think I left something out here I wanted to talk about. Oh, yes, I skipped over a slide, and I apologize about that. This wanted to talk a little bit about the history of DBA tools. This started with a lady named Chrissy Lemaire, who needed to migrate a SharePoint database server. Now, folks, I don't know if you've ever migrated a SharePoint database server, but I have, and it is murder. There's about 30 databases involved, and they have these strange names with some type of name followed by a long GUID. And it's just weird. But that's how SharePoint works. So, such as that it is then. So she was looking for a better way to migrate databases over and over again, and thought there must be some type of PowerShell script to do this, and discovered that there were none. So she set out to write one, and thus its DBATools were born. And eventually there were others that got involved and teamed up with Chrissy, and they eventually wrote a book called Learn DBATools in a Month of Lunches. And I really recommend this book. I can't say enough great things about this. So Chrissy, along with Rob Sewell, he's also known as DBA with a beard, Jess Pomfret, and Claudia Silva, all wrote this book. And it is great. So anyway, this presentation is going to be my journey using DBATools and migrating SQL Server instances from one server to another. So now I'm going to, so this is it for the slide deck. And so now I'm going to go to the so can you guys see my PowerShell screen? I'll take silence as yes. Okay, all right. Thanks. Forgive me. I can't see any chat window or anything. This I can only see what I'm sharing right now. So anyway, so to start out, let's see what my universe looks like here in the way of DBA instances. And we have a tool here called Find DBA Instance. And I'll just use the local host here, which is my laptop. And I'm going to clear the screen first. Then I'll run this guy. Whoops. Try that again. Here we go. And this is a neat little tool here for finding SQL Server instances. I believe somebody's trying to get into the meeting, Jared. Would you mind letting them in, please?
I've done that. Yep. Cool.
Thank you. So anyway, we see on my laptop here, I've got 3 instances of SQL Server. This is a great tool if you want to find, I don't know about your shop, but you know, my shop, and there's a lot of rogue, what we call rogue SQL Server instances. This is a great way to find them. These are instances where somebody decided, well, I'm going to install SQL Server on my desktop, or I'm going to buy this application and oh, it installs SQL Express as a part of it. Kind of a self-contained type application, and they run it. They never back up the databases or anything like that because they don't think they have to. They don't worry about that. Then all of a sudden they get in trouble one day. They say, "Hey, I'm going to call the DBAs and see if they can tell me what's wrong." And lo and behold, find out that they have this SQL Server instance that they've been running for 10 years. So this is a great way to find instances like that. So I've got these 3 instances that I'll be using for the demos tonight. And so the very first thing that will normally run once the Windows administrators turn over a server to us is that we'll run the copy DBA SP configure. Now, what this tool does is it'll basically copy everything that like if you're familiar with SP configure, it has all the configuration parameters for a database server instance. And this will copy it from one instance to another. So if you've got an instance set up with your approved baseline, in other words, XP command shell shut off. Another one is that backup compression. You know, out of the box, when SQL Server is installed, backup compression is off. But I like backup compression. I don't know who wouldn't. So I've got a server that's set up with the backup compression on. So when I run copy DBA SP configure, it's going to copy that setting from my old server to my destination server, or excuse me, my source server to my destination server. So that's the type of thing this tool does. You see the what if here, and this runs it. Any DBA tool will run that in pretend mode when you got that setting set. So you'll go through and you'll see on the screen says, hey, this is what I would have done had this been a real situation. So we'll see how that works in a minute. Also, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about this a little bit. And that's if you don't want to string out all your parameters, what you could do is you could set up a kind of a storage area. Like in this one, starts out the $sign, but I call this one DBA configure splat, and I took that from the book actually. Then in here, I define all the parameters I want. Then when I execute the DBA tool, I just reference @configure DBA or @configure splat, and it takes all the information that I defined up here. So we'll go run this first in what if mode. And here he's this is everything that he says he's going to do. These are all the different SP configure parameters. So but he specifies this as what if. He's performing this, but he's not really performing this. So now what I'm going to do is, and I think I can get away with doing this. Yeah, I'm gonna run this for real. Then we'll go and we'll take a look and see if indeed the these parameters get copied over from one server to another here, one instance to another, excuse me. Okay, and we see that he successfully copied everything over. There are some values that require restart, but let's take a look at these. And so I'll share another window. And so now we've got here's the source database server, the default server, if you will, and here's the one that I copied to. So if we look on the source one, and I bring up facets, go to configuration, and what I want to zero in on here is the thing I talked about with default backup compression enabled. And here, as you can see on the source, I have it set to true. So if DBATools did their work well, if we go to the receiving or the target database instance, taking a minute or two here, but we'll see that it indeed copied that over. Here it is, and it indeed is set to true. So go back to my PowerShell screen. And so it's kind of a handy dandy way to get all your configurations set up. So if you got one server that's already set up with everything the way you like it, and you have to set up another one the same way, this is a great way to do that. Now, one thing I need to show you is the show window. You have the get help, and you have the command here, and then you do a show window. This is kind of a neat thing. So you need to know what all the parameters are. You don't remember them. So a great way to do this is to do a get help on the command, followed by a show window. And as you can see, it shows everything you need here for that command right in the window. And we go down to the bottom. We see examples here that, and what I like is that what I found with this is that these are useful examples, not some lame things that nobody's ever going to use. But take a look at this one, for example. We can exclude certain configurations, like my favorite. You could exclude, for some reason, you don't want the default backup compression parameter copied over, or configuration, excuse me, copied from the source server to the target server. Well, you can leave that out by doing an exclude. And you also want to exclude is SQL Clear enabled. You can do that as well. So that's that. Any questions so far? Okay, so we've copied over the configuration. Another thing that I do on my list of stuff and setting up a database server is that we use, at our shop, we use instance audit. And let me show you what I'm talking about here. We go and we take a look at one of these guys. I have audits set up for this instance. And what I mean by audits is that these are things that get audited. Somebody drops a database or drops a table that gets audited. Somebody creates a login or changes somebody's login rights that gets audited. And this is all stuff that auditors like to see and like to see set up. So we do that at the OCC. We are heavily audited and heavily regulated. So anyway, that's one of the things that we want to make sure is set up when we go from one database server to another, and make sure that it's configured. So I'm going to copy DBA instance audit from my source server to my target server. And I'll just, you've seen what the what if does, so you already know about that. So I'm going to, in the interest of time, I'll comment that out. And we see that the the server audit was successful. So let's go and take a look. Go back to our window where we go to our target server here. And we see indeed that the audit specifications didn't get copied. No, sure enough. So could have sworn that that got copied automatically. I think it's called DBA Instance Audit Specifications. Yes, it is. So I'm gonna put that in here right quick. I thought I had it in here already. All right, so let's go take a look. And sure enough, there it is. All right. One of the other things that we use at our shop is policy management. And these are server policies, SQL Server policies that we have set up to make sure that things are done in a certain way. And so we're going to copy that over. And again, it's the same thing. These were always kind of a pain to do manually and doing exports and such. But doing this using this DBA tool, it's a snap. So we're going to run that, and we see that we have a policy and some policy conditions were copied over. So again, if we go and look, on our receiving server, we'll see that these guys are indeed in place. Well, maybe I got to do a refresh first. Well, the conditions got copied over, but the policy themselves itself did not. I don't know why. Dadgummit. Said that the SP name policy did get copied. Yeah, successful, but yet it didn't get copied. So. Well, you can always try running it again here, see what happens. And it says that even though it said it was successful the first time, on these two, they found that, hey, these are already there, so they skipped them. But the policy, he says that, hey, I copied it because it ain't there. So let's see if it got there this time. Nope. Well, I don't know. I don't know what happened. But something ain't working right.
Where are you seeing that it's not there?
On the if I go to and I look at this destination server and SQL Server Management Studio,
Oh,
I can
see,
see.
we're not seeing your management studio. It's not on the screen.
Is it now?
It is now, yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
And
Thanks.
so here's the yeah, sorry about that. I'm going along here thinking that everything's hunky-dory. And yeah, so if we take a look, we see policy management, we see the conditions are there, but the policy SP SP name or whatever the thing is called is not there. So I don't know what happened, but there obviously is a bug with that thing. So it looks like our good folks at DBATools has some work to do. Dadgummit. Okay, the next thing I do is I copy the extended events. And here it's the same deal. I have a source database server with a bunch of extended events, and I want to copy it to the destination. So I do that with one easy felt swoop. And any of these guys, let me go to the show window a minute. And when you get help on these, you have the ability to exclude things. This is the DBA audit, but it's the same thing with the one for the extended events. I can always exclude stuff, and I can also do the force. I can say, look, this may or may not be on my destination server, but I don't care. If it's already there, put it there again. And so that's kind of a nice thing too. And also you can supply credentials if you're in a situation where you have to do that for the source SQL server, as well as the destination. This is in a situation where you'd use this SQL authentication. So I've got an extended event or extended events defined. Not many, just enough to show that see it worked. Although we saw it didn't work with policy management, but enough on that. And here, this when I specified this, it included everything, even the ones that are out of the box. Telemetry extended events is out of the box thing that gets installed with SQL Server. And he skipped it because he says, hey, you already got it there. Now I could have done a force. And if I'd have done the force, he would have copied that over anyway. But in our real life situation, we've got more extended events than that, but I just use the one here just to show you. If I do a refresh here, and there it is. The miscellaneous one we saw got copied over. All right. Are there any questions so far?
None here.
Okay. All right. The other thing that we do is, or that I do when I'm migrating servers that I need to do is to copy the logins. And what I'm going to do is I want to show this. Man, nuts. So I do the show window on here. We see the thing that is says sync the SA login. Sync SA name rather. If this switch is enabled, the name of the SA account will be synced between source and destination. And I believe that what is done there is that actually I don't know what that means by sync, because it isn't the SID, because the SID is 1. So I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah, I wonder if it means because some people do rename SA. So that could be to basically find SA and rename it to whatever it was on the source.
Ah, well, that could be, because that's something that I in fact do. So I'm going to then comment out the what if. And I renamed the SA login to Frank Pantangeli. Any of you that has ever seen The Godfather Part 2, Frank Pantangeli was a part of the Corleone family. He was known as Frankie Five Angels. Anyway,
That's awesome.
I did that. So let's see if Frank Pantangeli exists on the source and destination server. So if we go to the logins here, and sure enough, SA was renamed to Frank Pantangeli. Same as it is on the source server. All right, thank you, Jared. That answered that.
Anytime.
So if I go and do a rename, SA, to the new login name of Charles Chucky English, it ain't going to work. Of course, that's on a different instance anyway. But let's try it on this one, just for grins and giggles. Let me see. Am I sharing this? Yes, I am.
Yeah, we're seeing your PowerShell.
Okay, great. So let's try this. I'm gonna rename the login SA to Charles Chucky English on this server. And we all know, we just saw that the SA login was really renamed to Frank Pantangeli. Let's see if this happens. Nope, login SA not found. And why is that? Well, like I said, we just we copied over Frank Pantangeli from the source server to the target server. It already been renamed, so he copied that over. So we're cool. Okay, that's really sums up the start of what I do when I set up a database server. I do the migration. Now, when it comes time to migrate the application databases, that's usually done at a later time. And, because there's coordination that needs to be done with the business users, and the ones that, developers that support the application. Before we copy the databases over, we need the developers to shut down the service that's running, and then so I can get the database. Then I would then copy the databases over, and then they would then point the application to the new database server and then fire it up. So there's a number of options here with this. The way I've been doing it is that when I do the copy database, I can exclude certain databases. I can say to include certain databases. I could say use the last backup, or I could give a share name, and then say instead of using the last backup, I could just give it a shared path. And then what he'll do is he'll back up the databases on the source server and restore them on the target server. Or I don't like to do this, but you could also do a instead of backup and restores, you could do a detach and attach. In fact, let's do a show window on that guy. Because there's some different things to talk about here. So, detach, attach. And what he'll do is instead of doing backups and restores, he'll detach, copy the database files over, and then attach them. But like I said, I like to use the backup and restore. I'm uncomfortable with the detach and attaches. But some of the other things, like you can exclude certain databases. Another thing that's in all of these guys is these tools is enable exception. And when something goes wrong, they try to give you a friendly message without having a bunch of red messages. But you can use this switch and it'll turn the friendly messages off, and then give you the all the gory details that went wrong should something go wrong. Some of the other things include support databases. If you say copy everything and this switch is enabled, you're going to get the report server databases and the SSIS DB copied along with it from the source to the destination. I'm looking for one here where it here we go. Set source offline. So after you've done your backups and your restores or your detach and attach, what you could do is you could set the source offline, and what will happen is that the source databases that got copied over will get set offline. It'll do that automatically. Or you could set the source to read only if you wanted to do that instead. So what I'm going to do here then is I'm going to run this, and I'm just going to include all the databases. And it'll include everything except the system catalog databases, the master model and MSDB databases. So I'll go and run this. and I did the what if. But we can see what it did here is copied the SQL admin database, updated the database ownership chain, and when it restored, the other thing I thought I had, oh yeah, our good old Wide World Importers database that got copied, or that would have got copied as well. Let's do it for real. Now, one of the things that you have to be concerned about when you're running this is that, like in our shop, we have each SQL Server instance has a different ID that runs that instance. So you have to make sure that when you're running this, that the IDs have rights to get at the backups. Because the backups get copied over from source to destination.
So when you're saying IDs, you mean like service accounts?
Service accounts, yes. Thank you. Now, what I do, and I know this is a bozo no-no, but what I do is I take the service accounts and make sure that they are also IDs in each other's instances, the source and the target. And I also make sure that they're local database administrators, or local server administrators, so that we don't have any situation with rights to directories. So, and then, like I said, you're not supposed to do that, but this is just a temporary thing anyhow. Once everything's done, I put everything back to normal. Take them out of local administrators and remove the service accounts from the target database server.
Yeah, I mean, I would totally argue that in a migration scenario, you're just doing just-in-time access, and afterwards, you're going to remove it anyway. So that's not a big deal, right?
Yeah, I don't think so. That security folks might frown on it, but like I said, it's just temporary. And I just got to make sure that you clean up after yourself. You don't leave that stuff laying around. So we'll go ahead and run this. And as you can see, he's now doing the restores. The other thing you got to think about is that when you're running this, is that you might have a database that's pretty good size, and so you might want to do a situation where you'd have a straight. And the book talks about this, the Month of Lunches book. It talks about different strategies you might want to set up, like perhaps you set up on a weekend, you do the full database backup and you copy that over. And then if you're doing the migration in let's say the middle of the week, you set up a log shipping type situation till it's time to do the migration. Okay, so we see these two databases were successfully copied over. So let's go and take a look at that. If I do a refresh, I do see that SQL admin worldwide importers has not been copied over. So that's done. So one of the last things I like to do is got this other tool here called repair DBA database orphan user. And where we have a situation where we've got, even though we've copied the logins over, we may have a situation here where the logins on the source server and the logins on the destination server, although they have the same names, they have different SIDs or SIDs. So what repairing the DBA database orphan user does is it syncs up that so that the users aren't orphans. They'll say on the destination server, oh, Joe Dokes' the Joe Dokes ID over here is SID 20. So I'm just gonna synchronize that up and make him SID 20, and then everybody's happy. So I'll go ahead and run this. And if he repairs anything, he'll tell you. But no, everything's clean. So we're all set. So that's those are the tools I use when I'm migrating database servers from one to another. Now, as I said, I had found about the easy button that they call it, the Start DBA Migration. This does everything you want it to do. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to run this one. I've got a third server out here called, or instance called DBATools Lab. And I'm going to use the easy button to migrate from the local instance that I've got here to the destination. And for this one, I'm doing backup restores, but I'm using a shared path. And here again, you want to make sure that the source and the destination service IDs have access or rights rather to the shared path. So this is like a and here I can see that see this warning message down here that the console's not elevated, but elevation is required to perform some of the actions. And what that means is this has to, although I'm local administrator on my laptop here, I didn't run this as administrator. So there's certain things that didn't get done. I had forgotten I had a separate window set up where I run PowerShell as administrator. So here's everything that he did. It's quite a list. There's some things that requires a restart. But It looks like it did everything. There's some things that he says, well, I'm skipping it because it's not supported at this time. And there's some things that it won't do, like copying over maintenance plans. And the reason they won't do that is it's too hard. Actually say that in the book. But I can imagine it is quite a headache. If we go and we look over here, we'll see that indeed this was a pristine database server. We now have our databases moved over. We go and look at this. We see that Frank Pantangeli got copied over. This is strange because I had renamed SA to Charles Chucky English. So these both can't be SA. So just for grins, I'm gonna run this and see what we've got for SIDS on this. Because that is weird. Okay, Charles Chucky English ends up being has the SID of 1. And I don't even see Frank Pantangeli. Oh, here it is, down here. He got copied over, but he was given a different SID. So that's interesting. I wonder who the owners of. Well, the owner is me. That doesn't have an owner. Okay, well that's pretty interesting. I didn't realize that it'd do that. But anyhow, all the logins got copied over. All of the databases got copied over. We go and we look at the configuration. We'll see that the configurations got copied over too. Takes a minute because I've got several instances running here, and it's just a laptop. And default backup compression enable is set to true. So cost threshold for parallelism is set to 50. Out of the box, it's set to 5. And on the source instance, I set it to 50. And then that got copied over. And I do believe if we go and we look at the audits, we see that the DBA audits got copied over. We'll see if all the policies got copied over. Nope. So same bug. But that would make sense because this easy button is nothing but a wrapper of all the other DBATools commands that I already showed you. And we do see the extended event that I had set up, the miscellaneous thing. So that's all I have. Are there any questions?
Yeah, I
Thanks.
got one.
Oh,
So like when we say migrating data like from the source to destination, so is there it creates any like schema or any metadata kind of thing?
Well, all the metadata gets copied along with the database, but the when you do either through the migration or do the copy DBA database, the system catalog, which consists of 3 databases, the master, the model database, and the MSDB databases, they do not get copied over.
Okay. So like, is it kind of snapshot? Like it's kind of tracking the records like.
Well, what it does is that, yeah, I guess it does take a snapshot in that when I ran it, at that particular point in time, he does a backup on the source instance, copies those backup files over to the target instance, and then does a restore onto the target instance. And so that's why when you do the copy of the databases, you coordinate that with the business users and the developers of the application that uses the database, because you want those services or whatever they are shut down so that there's no updating going on.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. So good question though. Any other questions? All right.
oh, cool. Well, thank you so much for speaking to our group tonight, Ross.
Well, it was a pleasure. I enjoyed doing it.
Yeah, and don't forget everybody. That we will post the video to our YouTube channel, which is the Chicago Data Professionals and Suburban SQL Group or something along those lines. I forget. Ross will provide us with his PowerPoints, which we'll go ahead and put on the website. And don't forget that next month we actually have 2 speakers, right? So we are going to have on the on the 8th of September, we'll have Alexander Mueller remotely, just like we did tonight. And then on the 15th, we will have a special in-person event at the MTC downtown Chicago with Bob Ward and Buck Woody. So please sign up for those events on LinkedIn or on Meetup. And I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Jared.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.